Prince William has basically staged a quiet coup inside Buckingham Palace, and his first major move is to systematically remove Queen Camilla from the royal machine after a secret luxury yacht scandal completely blew up. The wildest part isn't even the yacht itself. It's the fact that this whole thing unraveled because of a routine ship registry update that almost nobody reads. We are talking about the kind of standard maritime filing that exists purely for insurance purposes, and it ended up triggering an unstoppable chain reaction that is now reshaping the British monarchy in real time. That is where the story actually starts. And, honestly, the deeper you go into the timeline, the more the official explanations just completely fall apart. Before we get into every single chilling detail of this power struggle, hit subscribe right now so you do not miss any crucial updates as this story continues to develop. Let's break this down step by step. The trip nobody was ever supposed to know about took place in late July 2025, while William and Kate Middleton were out in the public eye doing back-to-back official engagements across the UK, visiting a children's hospice in Birmingham and attending a solemn veterans event near Edinburgh. Queen Camilla was living an entirely different reality. She was resting on a multi-million-dollar super yacht anchored off the sunny southern coast of France. This was not a royal vessel paid for by the taxpayer. It wasn't chartered by the Crown with an official staff list, security manifest, or an entry in the court circular. It was a private super yacht registered in Malta called the Esperanza III, owned through a complex holding company in Luxembourg and belonging to a Swiss-based financier whose name did not appear anywhere on Camilla's official schedule, her public diary, or any press release issued by the palace during that entire summer. No announcement was made to the public. No royal correspondence received even an off-the-record briefing. Even the palace press office, which normally records and tracks nearly every single major movement of senior working royals, had absolutely no record of this journey. That detail alone tells you everything you need to know. This was not a simple oversight or an administrative glitch. This was deliberately kept off the books. Now, the yacht's owner is not a convicted criminal, and authorities have never charged him with any crime. But over the past 10 years, his name has quietly appeared in multiple European lobbying disclosures. His corporate network maintains active business interests in land development, agricultural policy, and heritage property laws fields that are uncomfortably close to the exact types of decisions that royal patronages and crown estate management can influence. He is precisely the kind of wealthy individual the royal family was explicitly supposed to avoid after the explosive Prince Andrew scandals ruined the crown's reputation. And here is where it gets infinitely worse. Camilla had stayed on his boat before. That terrifying detail came out later. But for now, look at this specific trip in late July, which lasted 5 full days. The guest list featured a Conservative Party donor with active property planning applications in the West Country. It also included a European media executive whose company holds massive broadcasting contracts with businesses that receive lucrative royal endorsements. And there were at least 2 individuals whose names appeared in leaked files from a 2023 lobbying investigation in Brussels. None of these people were there in any official capacity, and none of them were on the public record. The story didn't break because of some massive investigative scoop or an anonymous whistleblower inside the crew. It came to light through that routine ship registry update. The document placed the vessel at a specific French marina on a particular date. A sharp royal researcher then cross-referenced this filing with a photo published by one of the guests on board. It was a simple background shot of a dinner on deck, posted briefly on a private Instagram account before the user panicked and deleted it. But someone had already saved the image. Within 48 hours, 2 British journalists and a major German media outlet received the photo. The German organization had spent years tracking European lobbying networks, so they knew exactly what they were looking at. By the first week of August, reporters were quietly verifying the facts. By the middle of August, the palace press office started getting phone calls it was completely unprepared to answer. This situation was uniquely damaging, not just because of the secretive vacation itself, but because of when it took place. For the previous 18 months, Prince William had been pushing a very specific, aggressive plan inside palace walls. He wanted tighter controls on the outside relationships that senior royals could maintain, much stricter rules regarding gifts and hospitality from wealthy individuals with financial interests connected to the crown, and a clear internal order stating that the monarchy could not risk another access-selling scandal. William had put these new expectations down in writing. His legal and administrative team sent these updated rules to the households of all senior royals. This guidance was mandatory, not optional. Camilla's office received the document, read the rules, and she went on the trip anyway. So by late August, the question inside royal circles wasn't whether William would take action, but how he would respond, and how fast. But there is another dark detail we need to look at. Who told him? William didn't find out about this from the news media. He learned about it before journalists even started making their initial phone calls. Someone in that small inner group on the yacht, whether a guest, a staff member, or someone connected to the owner, made sure the exact details went straight to Kensington Palace. In the world of royalty, that is a direct warning. It means at least one witness believed whatever was happening on that boat was wrong enough to alert the future king directly. William had a source deep inside the circle, proving the scandal didn't catch him by surprise. Someone deliberately handed him the weapon to prompt him to act, and he didn't hesitate. Now let's follow the money trail, because this is where Camilla's defense totally collapses. The super yacht Esperanza III carries a Maltese maritime license and is owned through a holding company based in Luxembourg called Verlaine Capital Partners. This complex structural setup makes financial transparency almost impossible. Nobody has clearly answered who actually paid for Camilla's luxurious stay on board. When royals accept private travel from outsiders, they are legally and ethically required to declare it. There is a strict internal system where senior royals who receive travel or lodging above a certain value must report it through internal palace channels into annual transparency records. Camilla's July trip does not appear in any of these records. William's office challenged Camilla's response within days. A source described this pushback as direct, meaning it wasn't softened by polite diplomatic language. The message stated that calling this a private matter was unacceptable and demanded a full account of the trip's financing be handed over to the king's senior officials immediately. That information was never fully provided. To make matters worse, William's team uncovered that this was a recurring pattern. Palace sources confirmed Camilla had accepted hospitality from the exact same yacht owner back in the summer of 2023. That trip was also kept secret and left off transparency records. An official noticed it back then. A quiet conversation took place. Nothing was formally recorded, and it was swept under the rug. William didn't know about it in 2023, but he found out now. What first looked like an isolated mistake was actually part of a deliberate pattern. William's team cross-referenced a $40,000 donation from Verlaine Capital Partners to royal structures against the dates of both yacht trips. Then, they checked it against a 2024 planning application submitted by a branch of that holding company for a heritage site in Somerset. While the application was eventually rejected, it was reviewed by a board that included advisors appointed by the royals. The mere appearance of a close relationship between Camilla and businessmen seeking decisions from bodies linked to her network destroyed the palace's credibility. By late August, William saw that this was a total failure of palace governance. And that left everyone facing the one dangerous question nobody wanted to ask out loud. Did King Charles know? The showdown that changed everything took place on a Tuesday during the first week of September 2025. It was held at Kensington Palace rather than Buckingham Palace. That choice of location was a massive power play. William, choosing his own domain instead of traveling to the king's home, sent a loud signal. 3 senior advisors attended. William's private secretary, his communications secretary, and one official from the king's household who was explicitly ordered to attend rather than invited. William brought a physical leather folder filled with printed documents instead of using digital files. Inside were the charity financial statements, the port logs, the 2022 lobbying disclosures, and a single-page summary of the covered-up 2023 trip. He placed the folder on the table, looked the king's official in the eye, and didn't bother guiding him through the pages. He simply said, I need to know who saw this in 2023 and decided it didn't need to go further. The official, a man with over 15 years of palace experience, couldn't give a clear answer. William's response wasn't a shouting match. It was much quieter, colder, and far more terrifying. He laid out the paper trail chronologically: the first trip, the corporate donation, the property planning application, and the second trip. Then he asked, "At what point was my father informed?" The answer was pathetic. Charles had only been told about the July trip as a casual update, like a husband being told his wife was going on a holiday with friends. He hadn't been told who owned the yacht. He didn't know about the Luxembourg holding company, the lobbying history, or the money. William sat in silence before stating plainly that the king didn't know because the system failed to protect the monarchy. Then he issued 3 non-negotiable demands. First, a full written disclosure of both trips given to the king's private secretary within 7 days. Second, a full review of Camilla's patronages to check for links to outside donors. Third, an immediate, total ban on all contact between Camilla's household and the yacht owner. Look at the public record on September 12, 2025. Photos show King Charles arriving at a high-profile film premiere in London completely alone. Camilla was listed on the original program, but vanished that night. The official excuse was a scheduling conflict, but inside the palace, it was the first public sign that Camilla was being forcefully stripped of her duties. You see, Charles has been undergoing cancer treatment since early 2024. His health battles have required massive reductions in his working pattern. Over 2024 and 2025, the person quietly taking over the daily running of the institution has been Prince William. It isn't a violent coup on paper. It's what happens when a capable deputy absorbs the workload of an ailing leader. When Charles called William again, trying to defend Camilla by saying she gave her personal word that nothing improper happened, William shut it down with brutal honesty. Her word does not match the documentation. Think about the gravity of that moment. A son telling the reigning king that his queen's word is worthless against hard evidence, and the king being too weak to stop him. William gave his father 72 hours to comply. Those 72 hours were pure hell inside the household. Lawyers were called, advisors panicked, and Camilla tried to claim she didn't know about the secret London meeting. But that only made her look worse. Either her staff was running rogue operations behind her back, or she was lying. By the end of the 72 hours, Charles surrendered. He called William on a Thursday evening and told him to proceed with the formal review, begging only that Camilla be treated with dignity and kept out of the press. What Charles couldn't bring himself to say out loud was that he had just lost the ability to protect his own wife. The protective shield he provided her for 30 years had shattered. So what does systematic removal actually look like? It doesn't happen with a dramatic execution or a public banishment. It happens through the calendar. Camilla had 14 major solo engagements scheduled for the autumn of 2025. By late September, 6 of those major events were quietly stripped from her and handed directly to Kate Middleton. Organizations were told it was due to scheduling pressures. In early October, William gutted her staff. Her deputy private secretary and senior communications advisor were ousted under the guise of an efficiency review. By November, her dedicated team was slashed from 11 down to 7. Her access to confidential intelligence was cut off next. High-level briefings on foreign policy and institutional matters stopped arriving at her desk. She was placed on a strict need-to-know basis. Meanwhile, Kate Middleton stepped right into her spotlight, taking over her keynote speeches and charity dinners, positioning herself as a co-strategist alongside William rather than just a supporting spouse. By late October, when William, Kate, and Charles spent an intimate family weekend together at Highgrove House, Camilla was left isolated in London. On paper, she is still Queen Consort. In reality, her diary is empty, her staff is gone, her access is revoked, and her influence is dead. Her entire future will depend entirely on the mercy and generosity of a son who watched her ruin his family dynamic for decades. Given how brutally and decisively William just dismantled her power over a single yacht scandal, Camilla knows better than anyone that when the crown officially lands on William's head, mercy will be the very last thing she receives.